Alright guys, how's it going? Emmett's here making my return to YouTube. In today's video, we're actually not going to be talking about mortgages. This is going to be taking a little bit of a step back and having a broader overview when it comes to business and particularly business strategy. I want to talk today about building leverage and actually giving yourself the groundwork and the framework to allow yourself to scale within business as opposed to simply sitting down at your desk, sitting down reading emails, seeing what the story is, finding yourself coming to launch, no progress being made, and we've all been there. We come up with some form of master plan about how we're going to take over, how we're going to level up and scale up and lock in, as they call it, for the new year. We have a look back 3 months down the line, 6 months down the line, and we're waiting for things to take off. We're waiting for things to click, and it just doesn't seem to be happening. Unless we break that cycle and actually change our inputs, we're not going to receive different outputs. So I want to talk about how we can actually build leverage so that you don't find yourself looking back at the end of 2025 and saying, oh, where did the rest of quarter 3 and quarter 4 go? Like you may have done for quarter 1 and quarter 2 if you're still watching this video, or if you feel like you can resonate with this. So let's talk about the steps that we can actually implement to get rid of that feeling. What do we need to put in place? What foundations do we need to put in place to build real leverage within a business that will allow us to scale, save us time, and generate more impact with the small level of actions that we do take, as opposed to running into the same wall, making the same mistakes, and not actually making any difference or growth in your business. So let's get into it. Now, the beautiful thing about business is that I'm sure that if you're watching this and you're a business owner as well, I personally truly believe that business, and even just capitalism in particular, and this isn't an ideology speech, can genuinely benefit, number one, people, but number two, the world and humanity as a whole. It's built on the basis of providing value and solving people's problems. At the end of the day, if you think about how have you gotten paid for anything that you've ever done in your life, and I'm not talking about even in the instance of being an employee and actually receiving a wage, what you're doing is you are providing value to someone in some way, shape, or form. And if you ask yourself, oh, well, what is value? Value is simply solving somebody's problem, or as Charlie Morgan would put it, value is created when pain is alleviated. So you're going to get paid in proportion to the value that you provide to other people. But what is value? It's alleviating pain on behalf of others. And it's great. What is there to complain about? And it's great to come forward and say that you have this noble mission when it comes to business. And yes, I do ultimately believe that on a long enough time trajectory with the right solution, the right framework, the right clientele, the right problems, that you can absolutely have that brilliant impact on society, and you can sort yourself out, you can sort your family out, other people's families. But at the end of the day as well, there just comes a certain level whereby you still need to be able to be the person that gets out of bed in the morning and actually wants to get involved in the business in the first place, because we're talking about making multi-generational impact just in this small instance, but it's one step at a time. And if you're watching this and it's just yourself in the business and you don't have any staff members, maybe you're even just scraping by when it comes to bills and you're just looking to get your first few clients on, there's a big difference between there and creating that multi-generational impact. And I'm not here to talk about the vast concept that business can bring to people. I know I talked about it just for 2 minutes, but I just want to talk about actually getting people out of the first steps, getting yourself out of the day-to-day and feeling like you're doing the same task over and over and over again. The harder that you work, the harder that you put your head against the wall, you only seem to get more frustrated without actually moving any further down the line, achieving the goals that you're looking to achieve. How does one actually build that leverage? We create the steps and create the path, lay the foundations and allow them to get to the place that they want to get to in business, just taking the first step. How does one do that? Well, today we want to discuss the steps so that you don't have that feeling of butting your head against the wall, doing the same activities over and over and over again. So let's actually break that down and see what that looks like. Now, the reason I'm actually making this video today is because I have just taken on my first team member. Now, if you couldn't tell by my face, I'm only 22 years old. I have a year and a half's worth of business experience, but in that time, I have, number one, developed a service, proved the service, and have scaled to a decent sized client bank of people that I'm working with as well. But it's not necessarily enough for me, and I want to take things a little bit further. And I've been facing the same challenges that you probably have been facing in trying to scale your own business, whereby you sit down, you do the tasks that are on your calendar, you do whatever comes to the front of your head. But doing this in and out and day to day and working in your business is not what's going to grow your business. At the end of the day, you need to ask yourself, what do you actually want? That is step one in achieving the goal that you're looking to achieve. Because if you don't have a goal, how can you ever expect to arrive there? It's like getting in a car and just driving and ending up at just any random destination saying, oh, well, it's not where I wanted to be. Of course, it's not where you wanted to be because you didn't actually set out a plan by getting in a boat and just letting the tide take you away. You need to decide where it is that you want to go and actually make that very, very clear and tangible. So For example, you might say to yourself, I'm going to assume if you're watching this that you may be a mortgages yourself. You might tell yourself, I want to be doing 10 mortgages a month at least. And I want to have at least 1 to 200 clients in my client bank at the end of this year, additional on top of whatever you have. How do you do that? It's really simple. I'm not saying it's easy, but it is simple. All you need to do is, number one, define that goal. And then number two, define what the inputs are to actually get you to that stage. So you might tell yourself, okay, cool. Well, I look at my existing client base. They give me approximately about 3 to 4 mortgages each month. Ultimately, it's not necessarily so predictable, and you can't guarantee you're going to get that 3 to 4 each month. But over the course of 12 months, that'll average out. So it's absolutely fine. But there's still a gap there, right? So I'm going to go ahead, work on the basis that maybe you have an introducer or something like that in place. There's 1 or 2 cases coming in from them as well. So 3 to 4 new cases from your client base, referrals, word of mouth, 1 to 2 new cases from an introducer. There's still a bit of a gap, all right? You want to be doing 10 cases a month, and there's already 5, 6 coming in from the sources that you have. You need to fill that gap. You need yourself 4 new cases coming in. So you've addressed your problem, which is obviously a positive thing. Obviously, there's still a problem there, but addressing it is such a large part of it. There's a saying, I can't remember. I want to say it was from Abraham Lincoln. He said that if he was told to cut down a tree and he had 6 hours, he would spend the first 4 hours sharpening his axe. Point being, you want to actually come up with a strategy and a plan as opposed to just butting your head against the wall. Working hard does not always work. It's about working smart and having that right strategy. And that's why we're talking strategy today. Anyways, back to where I was. 10 new cases, we have a shortage of about 4 or 5 per month. How are you actually going to fill that gap? There are plenty of solutions, and just disclaimer, I do have something to sell you and how you can do it. And if you want to check out the rest of my videos, by all means, go ahead. Maybe you'll learn something from them. You don't have to pay me, don't worry. But I try and post everything that I know so that people can learn from it. All that you need to do is find a way to plug that gap. Whenever you find it, you can hammer down on it. And that's it. It might be a case that you want to go ahead and start making social media posts, for example, and you know that you can get, just for the sake of the example, you can get 4 new clients per month from social media. So we've got 4 from the client base, 2 from introducers, and 4 coming from social media. All that you need to do is continue to service your current clients, and they'll continue to refer new people to you. Maintain the relationship with the introducer, and they'll continue to refer people to you. Say it's a estate agent, whatever it may be. I know how brokers are with estate agents these days, so just try not to get into a fight at work and you'll be fine. And make your social media posts. Maybe you know that you need to make 6 posts per month to get yourself 4 new inquiries, for example. Or you need to do a giveaway of a free resource, for example. I know that Gary Daz is a big fan of this. He does his lead magnets and things like that. So he'll create a new lead magnet for his social media, comment X word, receive a lead magnet. You can get inquiries from that, and you can start conversations with people by having them DM you and then just giving over the lead magnet. And that's an inquiry. It might take a couple of months for that person to be ready. Let's say, for example, they're looking to get a how much can I borrow guide. Maybe it's on the early days, but that can still convert into an inquiry later down the line. And what you'll find is that over the course of those 12 months of being consistent, that you can actually look to generate a consistent flow and predictable flow of new inquiries coming into the business. And it's by sticking to those inputs and having a high level overview of where your client acquisition is coming from, that you can actually look to scale in a more predictable and more familiar manner where you actually know what's coming in each month. This is as opposed, by the way, to just butting your head against the wall and thinking, oh, well, I can see it, I can believe it, and therefore I can achieve it, and it just comes to me. But it's not really how it works. It's important to believe that you can do these things, but without action, it's not going to happen. So the point that I want to make here, maintain a high level overview of where everything in your business is coming from. I have X amount coming from word of mouth each month. I have X amount coming from introducers each month. I have X amount coming from social media each month. Just an example. I'm sure that you'll have your own, and social media is something you can do, introducer something you can do, word of mouth something you can do. So I'll use it for the sake of today's example. An important caveat to this as well, and this is to give you a bit of a wider picture, because things aren't always going to go quite as simply as I have just said. Now, you probably watched that and said, oh, well, it's easy for him to say you're just going to get clients from social media and you just form relationships with introducers, and people would just ring you and you're saying, oh, it's not really how it works. It's not that simple. And I understand that it's not necessarily that simple. There's going to be people who aren't interested, who are just hunting for a rate, hunting for prices, and that does come into it. But you can still account for this, and you can still take some form of responsibility to at least understand what is coming into the business and maintain that high level of review. Because again, like I said, whenever you've diagnosed the problem, then you can take steps to solve it. So let's say, for example, okay, you do get some time wasters. 50% of the people that are referred to you aren't actually serious. They just heard you were a cool person and they picked up on something in your voice and thought that they could overpower you in a conversation into just giving them the information they were looking for. They're not going to convert to business, but you don't need them to. You just need to know the percentage conversion on those. I'm going to be really simple with this, by the way. This is me being a bit lazy because I don't want to do the maths. Let's say you get a 50% conversion rate on every single one of the appointments that you get from word of mouth, from the introducers, and from social media. So you know that you're getting a 50% conversion rate. And let's take this back to the goal again, 10 new cases per month. How are we going to do that? 50% conversion rate, you need 20 appointments. But that goes back to knowing the inputs that you need to get there as well. So let's say for the social media, you need 6 posts. I think I said you get 4 inquiries. So all of a sudden, all you have to do is make 12 posts and you'll get those 8 inquiries. Converting to 50%, that's 4 new cases. Coupled with the rest of the inquiries that you're getting, let's say we're getting 4 new inquiries from the introducers. And for example, you need to show up and speak with clients at the estate agent in person each week. If you need to show up twice as much, so be it. Takes 2-3 hours out of your week. If it secures you an extra £2,000 to £4,000 in additional business, I think that that's pretty good return on investment. And when it comes to servicing your current client base, I know that this is going to get complicated because you can't necessarily predict that. You can offer a referral incentive, for example. You can give them money, you can give them free biscuits. I don't know, get creative with this. They're your clients, you're the one who's built the relationship with them. So actually use that intuitive thinking based on the things that you pick up. Listen to what they say and try and build that relationship beyond just work. Because people buy from people, and this is where you're going to get your leverage from. So the main lesson here being, don't just maintain a high level of review of where your business is coming from, but also maintain a high level of review of the specific numbers relating to where that business is coming from. So you want to have the conversion rates on the people coming from social media, for example, conversion rates on introducer leads, and conversion rates on the people that are being referred to you through your current client base. That way you can reverse engineer where it is that you want to be in 6 months' time. 10 cases, for example, converting to 50% with your appointments, you know that you need 20 appointments per month to get to those 10 cases. And all that you need to do is show up and ensure that those inputs to generate those inquiries in the first place are done each and every week. Now, here is where things get tricky. Whenever you're a one-man band and you're just working on your own, you're reacting to the market and what comes your way. Let's say you're working purely off of your current client base, product transfers, remortgage, whatever it may be, and you're taking the word of mouth that comes with that as well. Keeps you comfortable, yeah. I'm sure you're making enough money through that. But when it comes to actually growing, like I said, you need the high level overview of your business. You need to know where all of your clientele are coming from, and you need to know at what percentage those guys are actually converting and how many inquiries you can predictably generate through consistent and predictable inputs each month. Now that we've established that, actually reverse engineering your goal may not be possible or feasible or tangible or even comprehensible to you as it stands. You might find that you can get the leads from social media, but you might find that your goal is a little bit too big for what you can actually humanly achieve on a daily basis. So this is just for the sake of the example, by the way. I'm not saying it's going to play out like this. Let's say you find that you need to make 150 posts to generate the 10 inquiries that you need. So you get an inquiry for 15 posts that you make online. All of a sudden, then you make 150 posts a month. How on earth is that going to be possible? It's not. You cannot do that on your own. And this is where the dichotomy comes in. Number one, you can keep doing what you're doing. But like I said, it's inputs, outputs. If you have the same inputs, you're always going to achieve the same output. And this is where you really need to ask yourself what you want, because you're going to need to start to incorporate risk and